Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We love you guys. And a big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister and get 10% off all of your purchases. We are doing a huge push to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are so close to making it, and we can't make it without you guys. So if you've been here before, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Without further ado, we're going to jump into this week's video. We're going to finish off the Barbarian for the new D&D playtest. We're going to jump right into the path of the Wild Heart. Though it's a new name, it's a remake of the Totem Barbarian. And again, you're going to see a couple of things here that give you more of an adventuring feel for the Barbarian, as opposed to just being a combat and nothing else really to do kind of a class. At third level, you're going to get Animal Speaker. You can cast the Beast Sense and speak with animal spells, but only as rituals. And Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for it. But it doesn't matter because it's a ritual, and they don't do anything that tangibly requires saves or anything like that. It's just kind of a communication or a knowledge spell, which is great for adventuring again, but it depends on where you are because you're not going to encounter a lot of animals in the cities or in dungeons. So be very mindful and try and take advantage of them whenever you do get the chance. Also at third level, you get Rage of the Wilds. This is where you pick your spirit totem in the previous version. In this one, the bear got nerfed a lot. Where previously was you got resistance to all damage outside of Psychic, you can now choose 2 other damage types other than Force or Psychic. You can make this choice every time you rage. And you have resistance to the chosen types on top of your normal rage resistance. Which is good, and it gives you a little bit of flexibility, but it's still overall a nerf. Eagle got buffed because now, as a bonus action, you could take both the disengage and the dash action, where previously you had to choose either or. So now you get to be kind of roguish. And then Wolf, when your rage is active, your allies have advantage on melee attack rolls against any enemy of yours within 10 feet of you, which is a bigger range where it previously was 5 feet. So Eagle and Wolf kind of got buffed, but that's mainly because nobody ever chose them. At level 6, you gain Aspect of the Wilds, and you can change this whenever you gain a Barbarian level up. First and foremost, you gain the Elephant, which is proficiency in both Athletics or Insight, and if you already have proficiency in these skills, you gain Expertise instead. The Owl is the same thing, except for Investigation and Perception, and the Spider is the same thing, but instead you get Stealth or Survival. Depending on what kind of character you're building, I think it would probably depict what you would really want. I think Owl is the most applicable. I think Spider is just really, really cool. Mainly because it pulls a lot of drow instincts to it, which I think is a lot of fun. At 10th level, you gain Nature Speaker, which gives you the ability to cast Commune with Nature. And you can cast it only as a ritual, and again, Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for it. This again is an adventuring thing. You cast Commune if you're looking for a specific enemy in the area or a specific type of enemy. It works really, really well thematically with Rangers, and you get it for free at level 10. Again, this really only works in worlds that you're outside, in forests and like the environment dealing with things. You won't get a lot of use of this in city areas and in dungeons. So when you do have the opportunity, I encourage you just to use it, just to help flesh out and really feel like you're part of a Wild Heart Barbarian. Finally, you gain Power of the Wilds. When you reach a Barbarian level beyond 14, you can switch this to a different choice. The Lion. When you rage is active, any of your enemies within 5 feet of you have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another Barbarian with this feature. Falcon. While your rage is active, you have fly speed equal to your speed, provided you aren't wearing any armor. Ram. While your rage is active, when you hit a larger or smaller creature with a melee attack, it must succeed on a strength saving throw, which is again based on your DC. Your DC is based on 8 plus your proficiency plus your strength modifier, or they end up prone. Now the cool thing about the Ram is every hit they have to make the save. You don't choose, it's just a passive that's constantly on. I'm seeing more and more flying on basically everything. It's getting a little redundant. It doesn't really feel all that special. But if you have a reach weapon, flying speed is definitely a big bonus for you. Lion is again a great tanking object ability, which really helps out very well. Again, as a barbarian, you expect to get hit, so anything that's going to come at you is going to come at you anyway. Combining these with the other abilities really, really works in creating kind of like a very unique feel for the barbarian. Though I always felt like the totem barbarian was kind of lame anyway, in all honesty. This is a little bit more of an improvement. It gives you options. It does nerf a lot of the traditional great things about it. But again, this is just not something I really feel applies or really makes the barbarian great or unique. This makes the barbarian really like a druid that just gets angry. And that doesn't feel cohesive because I feel like druids have a more centered and calm demeanor. Path of the World Tree Barbarian is a new barbarian. It is weird, it is different, and I think that's a very cool thing because it takes the barbarian and kind of switches around what its purpose is a little bit. It's a little funky, but I think it's great. At level 3, you get Vitality of the Tree. When you activate your rage, you regain a number of hit points equal to your barbarian level at the start of each of your turns while your rage is active. You can choose another creature within 10 feet of yourself to gain temporary hit points. To determine the number of temporary hit points, roll a number of d6s equal to the rage damage bonus and add them together. If any of these temporary hit points remain when your rage ends, they vanish. This makes you insanely more tanky. Because of your natural resistances that you gain from rage, you're now adding on HP every turn. Which, even though you might not consider it a high amount, it considers a way to kind of mitigate the damage you take over each turn. At being resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage right away is a big help for you. At level 3, you're regaining 3 hit points every turn. That's big. And you can choose to give temporary hit points to your other off tank that's right next to you. It's great. It's awesome. The way it's listed, it seems like you can do that every single turn. It doesn't seem like you're choosing either or. It seems like you're getting both of them. So you've now become this like well of HP and temp HP while your rage is going, while you're tanking, while you have increased defense. That's just a little mind-blowing, and it's just strange to me. Level 6, you get Branches of the Tree while your rage is active. Whenever a creature you can see ends its turn within 20 feet of you, you can use your reaction to summon spectral branches of the world tree around it. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw based on your strength modifier, or be teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet of yourself, or in the nearest unoccupied space you can see. The space the target teleports to must be on a surface or liquid that can support it, otherwise the target doesn't teleport. This is just a great way to pull an enemy that's leaving you and going after one of your more softer allies and put them right next to you. This is awesome. This helps to mitigate your movement issues, and it's a great thing to just, even if you move 20 feet away and pull that thing 20 feet from where it was previously standing, you can keep pulling and pulling an enemy further away from you, which is a very, very great battlefield control ability. At 10th level, you get Battering Roots. Tendrils of the World Tree extend from your melee weapons. While you wield any melee weapon, your reach with that weapon increases by 10 feet. When you hit a creature with it, you can activate the push or topple property, even if you're using a weapon mastery property that is different from that's already on that weapon. So, increasing your reach by 10 feet means you're hitting at 15 feet. Or if you're already using a reach weapon, 20 feet. Which is really impressive. Being able to push or topple someone on top of whatever mastery based on whatever weapon you're using is cool. It gives you a lot of options. It gives you a lot of things you can choose to do differently and really mitigate being just a blunt weapon and being able to do some cool tactical things with some of these weapons, which is very, very cool, and it makes you a more strategic character. It makes you have these options to do greater things than you could normally, which is amazing. And finally, at 14th level, you get Travel Along the Trees. So when you touch a large or huge tree, you can teleport yourself and 5 willing creatures to any destination that you can generally describe, which is pretty impressive. Or it teleports you there to a tree or to a teleportation circle in that area. You don't have to know it's there. It just has to be there, and you'll be teleported there while touching a huge or large tree, which is pretty impressive, and it's just such a strange thing to have. The Path of the World Tree Barbarian is wild. You have healing, which is going to increase your own durability. You can give out temp HP, so now you're buffing and supporting your allies. You have an insane reach. You have tactical options with your attack that you wouldn't have normally, on top of the normal tactical advantage you have from mastery of weapons. It also gives you a teleport for free once a day. This really takes the Barbarian and kind of just makes it crazy. It really warps it and puts on like this great, supportive, defensive, smart, tactical, utility Barbarian that no other subclass of the Barbarian gives you. It's incredible. What they did was very creative. It's unique. It's very outside of the box. It's just an impressive concoction from my point of view. I think it's just so cool what they did. It's so different. It's so unique. Having this kind of Barbarian in your party is gonna make a very impactful moment throughout your game, and is going to be constantly useful, and isn't just a one-trick pony, and that's amazing. I think that's just a beautiful idea that they came up with. The Path of the Zealot is returning, and I very strongly believe the Path of the Zealot is the strongest version of the Barbarian currently. I just really think it has a lot to offer. I think it's very, very powerful. I think it's got a lot of cool tricks to it. That might be a personal opinion, and some people might disagree, but they did bring it back here. And they did make a bunch of changes to it. So at 3rd level with Divine Fury, which used to give you additional damage that was radiant, on each of your turns while your rage is active, the first creature you hit with a weapon or unarmed strike takes extra damage equal to 1d6 plus half your Barbarian level, rounded down. The extra damage is necrotic or radiant. You choose the type each time you deal the damage, which is great because now you can mitigate and choose. And I happen to like necrotic because naturally I love necrotic. Also, at level 3, you gain Warrior of the Gods. A divine entity helps ensure you can continue to fight. When a spell or magic item restores any of your hit points, you can roll a d12 and regain additional hit points equal to the number rolled. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. In addition, if a spell such as Raise Dead, as the Raise Dead spell, has the sole effect of restoring life to you, but not on death, the caster doesn't need a material component to cast the spell on you, which is great. You're getting additional healing, so that healing word goes super far even at 1st level. Granted, it only happens a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, but 5 times is plenty. And it still keeps the ability that if anyone's restoring you to life, they don't need material components, which is very beneficial because you're not spending money searching for diamonds for things like Revivify constantly. At level 6, you gain Fanatical Focus. If you fail a saving throw while your rage is active, you can re-roll it, and you must use the new roll. You can use this feature only once per active rage. So you get a bunch of uses out of it. It's just they're spaced out in between your rages. And at level 10, you get Zealous Presence. This was kind of like tuned up, I guess, from the previous version. As a bonus action, you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. If you've run out of uses of this feature, you can expend a use of your rage to activate Zealous Presence instead of rage. At 10th level, that's kind of a big resource depending on how many encounters you go through in a day. I think this is to kind of encourage you to do more things than just punch in combat, and I like that theory behind the Barbarian. Zealous Presence is one of those things where it's a big buff. But using it once, fantastic. Using it multiple times is something that's going to weigh heavily on the kind of games you play. If you only do one encounter a day, yeah, having more than 2 rages is plenty. So definitely want to weigh that out and try and get some use out of it. You get 1 use for free. definitely buff your people up and let them unleash a lot. This is most effective at the beginning of a combat, where if you can take a creature out, or if you can do a large amount of damage in a short period of time, it prolongs your HP, your resources, and further down the line, it's a big help. Definitely consider using it. At 14th level, you still gain Rage Beyond Death. When your Relentless Rage successfully restores your hit points, you could assume the form of a Spectral Warrior. While in this form, you gain the following benefits. You have a fly speed equal to your speed, and you can hover. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or an object. And the second thing is, when you're hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to turn that hit into a miss. This form lasts for 1 minute or until you regain hit points or drop to 0 hit points. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you're using a reach weapon. This feature is wildly dangerous for you. It gives you the opportunity to fly and hide through, monsters and go through difficult terrain to get out of them, so you're not boxed in by anything. But if you end up in a creature for 1 turn, you do take damage, and that might drop you to 0 hit points. It's tricky. It's very, very tricky to use this effectively. It's an interesting skill, but again, it's an excuse to fly. I don't understand why so many classes are gaining these flying abilities, but here you are, another subclass that gives a barbarian flight. I don't know, figure it out. I'm not super impressed by this. Obviously, the previous version of this was super strong, but this version, it gives you a unique ability, but it's very minuscule in its overall uses. You have to be very specific. You have to have a game plan when using this, and you have to kind of be good at flying around and knowing what to do. So really, you got to kind of weigh that carefully. I mean, it might be a lot of fun to use, but on paper, it's just a little lackluster, especially considering what it was like previously. So the Barbarian has gone through quite a bit of changes. I think some of it's interesting. I like the idea that now your Barbarian is gifted these abilities to think and come up with these great new options and be a little bit more creative in combat, as opposed to being just a blunt weapon. I think that's great. I think it adds depth to the Barbarian. I think that's something that the Barbarian has been missing, and has always made me seem like, in my opinion, the fighter is always better than the Barbarian, because the fighter can do so much and the Barbarian is limited to rage and attack. And this really changes that. It makes it a support. It makes it an adventurer. It makes it like so much more like risk-taking and dangerous. It makes the zealot more unique and holy and divine, and it gives such strange abilities to it. It's almost otherworldly, and I like those concepts. I like some of the changes they've made. I like that it feels like you have to think, like you're not just running around just smash, smash, smash. It matters who you hit, why you hit, and what direction you're going for, and what things you're trying to do. Some of it is just pretty basic and straightforward. Again, the Barbarian will always be a very heavily combat-oriented class, but this gives you reasons to really participate in the out-of-combat portion of the game, and it makes you more than just this dynamic, like, I'm a hero because I'm strong. It makes you, I'm a hero, I'm clever, I'm smart, and I'm not dumb. And that is a really great concept to have, and I think they really embraced that and brought that to the forefront. If you made it this far into the video, definitely hit like and subscribe. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. A big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister. Get 10% off all of your purchases. The links to both of those sites are in the description. And again, if you've made it this far, we are still doing this push to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We can't do it without you. If you've made it this far, really consider hitting that subscribe button. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.